Thank you very much for visiting this channel again. I am Double Joe. And today basically we'll be talking about some things you have to know and how to get prepared for your US visa interview. For most countries, you have to secure a visa to visit the US, and for most African countries, Nigeria in particular, you have to still, have some visa interview. It is something not easy to do, something not easy to get, and it's a big deal eventually if you get it. And so we have gathered some information that could be very helpful for you to secure your visa. And if you take into account all of this information, I can assure you that you will smile at the end of the day, and you have God to thank for that. And so while we do that, I just need to call your attention to the clips going on behind. You see it's showing some parts of National Mall in Washington DC. It's showing the area around the Capitol, the Library of Congress, and maybe some parts of the Supreme Court also. And just to let you know that in a few days we'll be also pushing out some series about Washington DC and the information that you need to know if you want to visit that city. It's good for those that are coming to visit. It's good for you also that live there to at least have an idea of where and where to go to if you want to relax, if you want to catch some cruise, if you want to eat some good food, if you want to visit some monuments, and it gives you a broader view about the city. It took quite a while also for me also to know that this is not just that city that you just go to visit or just to see the White House or see the monuments. We have 1,001 places in DC that you can visit. It's enormous. The buildings are wonderful. The history is good. The architectural designs, you want to know about those things. You don't just want to be driving around that city and then just like that. You'll be surprised that places that you visited in the past, if I tell you things about those places, that will be very fascinating. You want to revisit and see what's happening actually there. Some of these buildings are not just just the buildings. If you go into them, you know that quite a number of things that you find to be new. And that's a city for myself that I go to every day and learn something new. You don't go there and not learn something new. So you can go 100 times, you learn 100 times, 100 things at least in that city. So the videos are coming. I'll still preparing them, and as soon as they're ready, I'll start to push them in one after the other. So please sit tight. Let's go see what you have to prepare for and how to get your preparation tight for your visa interview. And I can assure you that with God, everything is possible. I'll see you. Let us go there. Just to mention it, traveling out of the country does not have to be to the United States alone. There are quite a number of places you can go to out there. Every country has its own peculiarity when it comes to beauty, when it comes to culture, when it comes to uniqueness, things that make them stand out. Even though the United States has quite a number of places, number of events, number of peculiarities that you'd want to see, there are quite a number of other places also that you could go to. So this video basically will dwell more on the US and what you have to put into place and put into consideration as you visit the United States Embassy for your visa application or for your visa interview. So that's what we'll be dwelling on. Of course, before you can have the interview, it is expected that you must have a applied. You must have filled the necessary forms. The forms would have been submitted. You have already a date for your interview. But all the things we are going to mention now in this video will basically dwell on things that you have to put in place, things that you have to do, things that you have to note as you go for your visa interview. And if you apply all of this information, I can assure you that it will be of very good help in standing out and helping you to know how to tackle the interviews appropriately, with the end in mind of getting approval at the end of the day. Okay, so let's get right into it. And it is worthy of note also that it is not impossible that every day that they have visa interview at the embassy, there is a limit to what they can do. There probably will be a threshold, a number of how many they can give or issue in a day. That is definitely not impossible. You don't want to issue visa to everybody, and people have controls. All those places, the companies have controls, they have limitations, they have they set limits on what they have to do. So it is not impossible that sometimes they might probably have a number or a threshold that they have to get to in a day, and then maybe after that almost everything, every other person might not really get approved, or maybe they do it at random, and but they have a way of doing that. But I can assure you also that the way things look, it might be definitely possible that they have the number that they have to do in a day. But always be positive that yours will be among the ones that will be approved. But to be able to do that, you definitely would need to listen to the rest of this video. The first thing I will let you know, which is, to me, I'll say is the most important thing to do to prepare appropriately for your visa interview, would be to put God first. I can give you a very strong guarantee that whatever God is involved in would always prosper, would always be successful. Don't rely on your strength, don't rely on your ability, don't rely on your education, don't rely too much on your finances, and you think, okay, yes, you have everything in place. What if there are some things they ask you that you cannot answer appropriately, and you realize that the only person that can make it possible for you to get approved is God? And I've seen places, I've seen people, I've heard stories of people who never thought that they could get approved, and eventually they were approved. I can assure you that when God is involved, wherever you have lapses, wherever you lack knowledge or you don't have the right answers, the Lord will fill in the gap for you, and everything will just work outside of your power, and you feel like, oh, this can only be God. I've seen that happen so many times. I've heard stories of people who that also has happened to, and I can assure you that it's one thing to reckon with. It's my first recommendation for you to be able to get approved. God must be involved in your plan. Okay, alrighty, let's go to the second one. The second thing to note is dressing. The way you are dressed is the way you are addressed. That's somebody saying, though, on my words. Alright, so you do not want to go in front of a consular and you are appearing shabby, or you are appearing dirty, or you have some not so good odor. Sometimes people get pissed off by the way you dress, and even if you have every other thing, you still have to appeal to the person that you are standing in front of. So you want to appear neat, you want to appear nice. Do not overdress. I have seen from my personal experience, at some point when some people visit the embassy with their children, and knowing, especially if you are coming from a different state, like people in Nigeria, if you are coming to Lagos from, say, some other states, can be very sure that going back to work that day, considering the traffic and so many other things happening around, is always more like a no. You have to take a day off. So why would you dress up for your kids in their school uniform to the embassy to show them what? To let them know that they go to school, or they have so much important school that you want to let them know that they will, that will make them come back because the school is so important. I don't know why you would put on school uniform for your kids to the embassy. They can dress in their home wear, neat, looking nice, not too much. That would be very, very good, to help you also to at least appeal to the person that you are standing before. Do not overdress also. Putting on a tie, a suit or a jacket does not prove you to be working in a bank, or that shows that you have so much in your account, or you have so big a job that you want to come back to. But please dress nice, dress neatly. A shirt and a trouser would do, well ironed and looking good. If you must, you can apply some deodorant, at least to make you smell well and not too much. So that will be of help when you visit the embassy for your interview. Another thing that you have to note is punctuality. You don't want to appear there late. That sends the wrong information, and besides that, you might not get your slot again if you get there late, and it will destabilize your entire plan. If you get there and somebody tells you have to get back in the queue, and it takes some time, and you start fidgeting, you start getting some panic, that would destabilize you. It's better to get there quite earlier than that time. Wait, you have to dedicate the entire day for the whole thing, so it takes just a few minutes for the interview. So take your time, ensure to be there on time. If you have to travel to get there, you can do that a day before, so at least you relax, you practice what you need to practice, and then you go for your visa interview with some rest of mind. Okay, then another thing to note is your attitude. You have to be polite, even if you have something kind of like troubling you, you have something going on in your head or back at home or something. You've got to shake that off your mind at that time. You have to be very, very polite. I can assure you that right in that environment, there are some people that work on your patience. There's some people that you meet before you eventually meet the consular that will be rude. Some people, when you put them in power like that, they become bossy, and you meet people like that as you move from one room to the other, going through some verifications before eventually you get to your interview location. So you've got to just work on your patience and be calm. Don't let anybody walk you off, and just go ahead. The end is what you put at mind, and you know that, okay, this is what you are here for. Even if somebody is getting you annoyed, you've got to just keep your calm and go for what you need to go for. This one is very important. You have to be consistent. Basically, the interview is to evaluate what you've sent in writing on your application form. Is to kind of like re-verify if this person is truly the person he has said he is. So you don't want to write A on your form and then go there to say B. If there is any information you forgot at the point of filling the form, you definitely must forget that information too as you get there. I've seen that play in the past, and it's not always very good. Especially in some places, they could ask you some questions that very vividly that you didn't put that down on your form. It appears you are not consistent, and it shows also that you probably would be lying. I've seen somebody in the past who visited a country before a long time, and on the form he didn't write it on the on the application form that you visited that country in the past a long time ago though. Then when it got to the interview, he started mentioning things like that, and the person was like, this is not here, I don't have that information, and that's a no from there. So you don't want to say things different from what you have. Practice as many times as possible what you have on the form. You always have the form with you. Read what you have there as your information. Ensure that at least you are consistent with what you have there by the time they start to ask you questions. They don't usually go out of the information you've already provided. They just expatiate more, and upon what you say is what they build their questions. So you want to familiarize yourself with everything you have on the form to ensure that nothing is different. Do not go there and play superhero all of a sudden. Be who you said you are, and then you can be sure that at least with God in it, something positive and good will come out of it. Then you have to be sure of what you are saying. You really need to be sure of what you are saying, and that borders on your confidence. And if they ask you something, you don't want to go there and start blabbing. You really need to get familiar with what you have on your form. I go still with being consistent. You definitely try as much as possible answer with some smile, and you can be sure that smile begets also smile. Even though you might probably not be seeing that other person at the other hand smile at you, but they have this customer service relationship, and even though somebody is still not going to give you eventually or going to give you, will still maintain that good relationship with you. You want to return that good smile and answer your questions confidently, and be sure of what you are saying. Read if you have to, Google what you need to Google if possible. Find out about the place you are visiting, and that will be very helpful for you. Then this one is very important. I've seen people failed because of that in the past. I've heard stories. I probably have not seen any, but at least I've heard stories. You've got to be familiar with the state you are visiting, the location you are visiting, the town and city you are visiting. If you are visiting the Washington DC, for instance, you've got to get yourself familiarized with the monuments in DC, the places people usually go to, the things that keep that city outstanding, those things that you think are really fascinating, that you want to see, the landmarks in that city. So you don't want to tell them you are going to New York, for instance, and you don't mention places like the Times Square, the Statue of Liberty. All those places are places that people visit, and you start mentioning places that don't count. That would mean something. You need to get familiar with where you are going to. If possible, all the information you can find them in Google. If you check my videos, I talk more about DC, and you see DC landmarks also mentioned in the videos that we produce. So you can always watch videos like that to at least get you familiarized. You tell them you've seen these things in the videos, you've seen the pictures, you really want to see them firsthand. And of course, they won't tell you not to go visit and see those things. Everybody wants to do that at one time or the other. And also, the city you are visiting will also make some money from it. Tourism is one big thing also for every country. So who doesn't want to give people the chance to come and spend their money in their country? So it's one thing that you have to be, bold at saying, and you get familiar with that city will be quite helpful as you go on the journey. Okay, all right, thank you. Another thing to note is that grammar is not an issue. You do not have to know how to speak Queen's English or too fluently before you get past this interview. Basically, if you even check around here in the US, not everybody speaks English. We have people whose basic language will be Spanish, and people don't laugh at you if you don't speak English. Unlike some other places, you don't have to speak English very fluently. But just at least ensure that you are communicating when you speak to the person interviewing you. If there's anything you do not understand, ask that person to ask again. Politely, people don't take offense when you ask them to repeat themselves. They'll do it gladly for as many times as you want them to. Just ask them politely, can you say that again? Or can you, I didn't hear that. Can you say it again? They will be glad to do that. So you do not assume that you heard them, or you want to go ahead and just, assume that this is the question this person is asking. Ask as many times as you want to. The person will be glad to do that for you. And you don't have to speak good English to be able to get past that interview. Just have that also at the back of your mind, okay? Also, one other thing that you also have to note is that it is worthy to stress this, that you have to convince the person interviewing you that you are returning back to your country, especially when you are taking a vacation visa, like visiting visa, or you are going for studies, and you have to ensure that at least you say things that will convince that person that you are coming back. And that would probably be your job, your family members, or your family, and your what you have in the country, that some ties that you have with the country that will make you come back. It could be your possessions and all that. If you are a successful business person and you are traveling for vacation, it is expected that you be back to your business. You don't want to go hang in somebody else's country and leave your multi-millionaire business back home. So if you are in that category, yes, sure, you have to. It could be your church, even it could be, you are a pastor of a church. Obviously, you don't want to leave your congregation and go stay in some places that you don't know anybody there. So you have to be able to let them know that you have ties back home, that you are coming back to. So all of those things count. It could be a series of things, but just ensure that at least you pick the right thing to let them know. People use their job. If you are in doing a well-paying job back home that is paying you conveniently and you are successful, you don't want to go take a B1, B2 visa and go hang in somebody else's country. You let them know all of those things, because definitely there will be one question or the other that will mention or ask you to pull up that information from you to know if this person is ready to stay, or this person is just going to be a liability, so to speak, when it gets to their country. They don't want to give somebody a visa and the person starts to hang in there, because they know, apart from spending your money for maybe a few days, a few weeks, you also definitely will be needing to get some more, so you'll be feasting on their system. They don't want that. So try as much as possible to put that at the back of your mind, that you have to at least convince the person you are speaking to that you'll be returning back to your country after whatever program you are going there for. And also, do not beat around the bush. Always go straight to the point. It shows confidence. It shows you know what you're doing. It shows you know why you are there, and you know what you are going there to do. So don't paint things around. Don't polish your answers. Go straight to the point. If it's asking you to do this, give them the right answer, and that's it. So that's one thing also that you must, the entire interview will not take more than maybe like 5 minutes. So why would you want to start talking about things that are not relevant? Ensure that your answers go straight to what is meant to deliver, and then you are off that place. Also, very importantly, you have to show proof of financial stability, that you are able and capable of taking care of your finances when you travel. In some instances, they might ask you to show proof. Most of the time, they would not ask you that. They would not go beyond what you've already put on your form that you have. If you tell them, sometimes you need to, just be able to prove it. If you are working, for instance, you let them know how much you earn, monthly and what it sums to in a year. If your company gives you like travel support, like a leave allowance, let them know how much the leave allowance is, and if possible, you can just make them understand that you've also been saving for your journey for quite some time, and this is what you have been able to gather now that will take you. Make sure you do that in US dollars, to let them know that, okay, I'm going for a month, and for a month I've been able to save this, and my company also pays so amount for leave allowance, and I earned this amount in a month and this in a year. So if you tell them, and they'll be able to do their own calculation that, okay, this person is earning this big, he should be able to at least pick out this to cater for himself when he travels. And try as much as possible to be familiar with what the exchange rate is saying, to be able to calculate what you in nutshell what you'll be spending daily, and sum it up for what will take you for the entire time. If you have to stay in a hotel, if you have to put up with someone, they're expecting also that you have to make some shopping, you have to create some amount for that, to be able to at least let them know you are capable of taking care of your finances. That's one thing also that could be very detrimental if you don't get right, because if you give an impression that you have just a little, and for you to be able to be comfortable over there and be able to still get yourself back to your country, it means you probably will be feasting on their system, because it's not expected that you'll be working when you get there. So you want to be sure that at least you let them know that, and that's where your employment or your job comes into play, because of course you are getting your finances from there. So you need to ensure that at least to let them know what you earn. It is very important what your income is, and that would weigh into what you can afford and what you cannot afford, and that could be very helpful in getting somebody to know that you will go and come back without causing any trouble to their system. Alrighty, so that's about all for now. Of course, there probably will be some other information, and as I remember, or as I get those information from experiences that people have, and I think they will be very helpful in helping to secure your visa to the US. Definitely I'll share them in another video. Just a quick recap of what we discussed. Your dressing must be good enough, neat, not too loud, and you don't want to also dress shabbily. You want to be punctual, you want to be polite as possible, no matter what, or what anybody says or what anybody does to you over there. Ensure to keep your calm. Be consistent. Your information must be the same as what you have on your application form, so study the application form as many times as you can. Be sure of what you are saying. Do not give an impression that you are not confident, or you are lying, or you are cooking stories up. Things must come fluently. If you practice all you have filled on your form appropriately many times, you get used to it. And of course, if you are telling the truth, it will be easy for you to push that information across without having to be cooking things up while you are there. Be familiar with the state and the location of your visit. Also, grammar is never an issue. You don't have to speak fluently in English before you get your visa approved. Be convincing that you will return back to your country after the holiday. You have to convince that person before you that you are not going to be a liability to their system when you get there, and that goes to ensuring to have a proof of your finances. If possible, go with a statement of account that shows you have some money in the bank. You can also have your employment letter, I forgot to say that, or something to show what your remuneration is, and maybe something also to show that you work for that company that you said you work for. And that could be very helpful. If you have a business, you could go with some statements to show what your income is, and from that also, if they demand for it or request for it, they'll be able to have it one hand and check if truly you are what you have there. In most cases, they do not do all those checks. It will bother on what you tell them and what you have on the form. And of course, they have a way of reading your psyche to know if you are lying or not, and ensure to have proof of that financial capability. And then do not beat around the bush, go straight to the point. You have just limited time. You have a lot of people in the queue, and they don't do it all day. They have a time also that they end the program, so you have to be very fast and straight to the point. And with this, definitely with God in it, which is the first point that we mentioned, you can be sure that God will definitely fill in the gap for you wherever you are not getting it right. All right, thank you very much. I hope you were able to pick one thing or the other from this video, and I hope to see you again some other time in a few days, as I'll be posting some videos, especially on what you have to prepare for, and how you have to prepare as you secure your US visa, or whatever country's visa that you have. All the things you have to put into consideration, you have to know before you travel, the do's and don'ts to ensure that you have a good stay where you're traveling to. I have some on accommodation also as you visit, especially the US, what kind of accommodation to go for, what you have to know as touching transportation, some of those things that you need to take into consideration, how to pack and unpack, what to pack, and all those things. You need to also know them from personal experiences. You don't want to overpack. You do not want to underpack too. You want to ensure at least you pack the right things, you bring the right documents. All of those things we'll mention in the subsequent videos. And do not forget also that I'm going to push out some videos about Washington DC. If you really want to visit that city, I tell you, you need to know more about the places so that you don't have any stress of not being able to visit some places, or dwelling too much on visiting places that really do not so much matter. So all the information that we have about that will let you know in the Coming to America, especially visiting the Washington DC series, which will be following as we go on. Thank you very much for your time today. It's still your man, your street photographer. I am Double Joy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Please subscribe and hit the notification button so you will be notified each time we put up a video. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day. Bye for now. I am Double Joy.